Hello and welcome to Vantage. I'm Alyson Le Grange coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's get started. Donald Trump is shifting focus back to trade. The US president has announced a truce with China. He says China will resume rare earth exports. Trump's Commerce Secretary claims 10 new deals are in the pipeline. One of them involves India. But New Delhi isn't rushing to sign. Trump's ceasefire in West Asia seems to be holding. Just a week after bombing Iran, Trump is now taking investment. What is Trump trying to do with Iran? We'll explain what's driving this shift. We'll also talk about Trump's new obsession and why his former first buddy, Elon Musk, is struggling. Tesla is losing ground and facing a challenge from Chinese tech giant Xiaomi. Meanwhile, in Europe, Denmark is going to war against deepfakes. It wants to give people copyright over their own voice and image. We also discuss what's driving a new rift between India and Bangladesh, the rise of gun drones in modern warfare, the surge in South Korea's birth rate, and how rising education costs are hitting students worldwide. But first, the headlines. In India, a law college student is allegedly gang raped in South Kolkata. 3 people have been arrested. The alleged assault took place inside the college premises on the 25th of June. This comes less than a year after a trainee doctor was raped and killed in Kolkata. The crime had sparked nationwide protests. Chinese President Xi Jinping continues his purge of the military. A top general is dismissed from Beijing's highest-level military command body. He was suspended after being put under investigation last November. In the last 2 years, President Xi has dismissed several senior military officials, as well as 2 defense ministers. Sri Lanka's former national airline chief arrested for alleged graft. He is the brother-in-law of the former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa. He is accused of taking airline cash to bankroll Rajapaksa's failed presidential re-election bid in 2015. Under his leadership, the airline accumulated over $2 billion in debt. Georgia jails 2 prominent opposition figures. This latest crackdown puts nearly all opposition leaders behind bars. Georgia has faced political unrest since October, when the ruling party claimed victory in the parliamentary elections. The opposition had rejected the results, triggering mass protests. And Japan executes a man dubbed the Twitter Killer. He murdered and dismembered 9 people whom he met on the social media platform. He targeted users who posted about taking their own life. This is Japan's first imposition of the death penalty since 2022. Japan and the US are the only 2 G7 countries to still use capital punishment. It seems like the season to end wars. The 12-day war between Israel and Iran ended this week. Now it looks like another war could end. This one doesn't involve weapons. It involves tariffs. I'm talking about the US-China trade war. It was triggered by Donald Trump's so-called liberation tariffs. After it was unveiled, most countries tried to appease the US, but China did not. They took the fight to Donald Trump. Since then, we have seen multiple tit-for-tat moves, like curbing visas, restricting sale of chips and rare earth, and steep tariffs higher than 200%. But weeks later, there's a truce. China and the US have signed a new agreement. It was announced by Donald Trump.
Remember a few months ago, the press was saying, do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China. We have everybody. We're not going to make deals with everybody. Some we're just going to send them a letter, say, thank you very much. You're going to pay 25, 35, 45%.
There have been 2 rounds of talks, the first in Geneva in May, the second in London earlier this month. During those talks, both sides reached an understanding, and based on that, a deal has been signed. The question is, what's in it? The US says China will begin selling rare earths again, and this is crucial for the US. Rare earths are a group of 17 elements. They are key to making a number of crucial products, from fighter jets to headphones to cars. China controls 90% of rare earth processing, and in May they began curbing these exports to the US. It was Beijing's way of retaliating against Trump. This move choked US supplies and many American producers began complaining. Cut to this week, there is hope. The US is expecting China to resume rare earth exports. What does Beijing get in return? Similar relief? China says the US will lift their restrictive measures. Experts believe possibly on chips. The US had curbed China's access to advanced semiconductors. Some of those curbs date back to the Biden era. If relaxed, it would be a win for China. Though, as things stand, we don't know what the relief could be. Also, this doesn't signal an end to the war. Like I said, it's a truce. Both sides are rolling back some restrictions, but concerns about tariffs and market access remain. The good news is they are talking. Now, earlier this year, both China and the US were playing brinkmanship. Neither side was willing to take a step back, but now they are focusing on diplomacy, which is good news for the global economy. And it doesn't end there. The US says more deals are expected to be signed soon. Trump's Commerce Secretary says at least 10 more, and one of them could be with India.
We're having some great deals. We have one coming up, maybe with India, very big one, where we're going to open up India.
So Trump is upbeat, but insiders are not. Take a look at this report. It says the trade talks face a final hurdle. Over what? Mainly cars and farm goods. The US is asking India for deep tariff cuts in these sectors. They want to sell their corn and soybeans in India. But New Delhi is wary. Almost half of all Indians work in agriculture. So historically, the government has shielded this industry. It has been reluctant to slash tariffs, and that's why talks are deadlocked. There is time until the 9th of July. That's when Trump's tariffs are expected to kick in. An Indian team will visit the US before that. But reports say there is no hurry. One official said India is keen, not desperate, to sign a deal before the deadline. And there are reasons why. 1, India is better placed than its rivals. Trump has announced a 26% tariff on Indian exports. That's lower than other producers in Asia, meaning India could be less affected. Secondly, India is diversifying its trade. Last month, New Delhi reached a free trade agreement with Britain. This month, it restarted trade talks with Canada, and later this year, it is hoping to conclude a deal with Europe. In simple words, India has options. Finally, reason number 3, ties with Trump have frayed in recent weeks. The US president claims he brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. New Delhi has rejected this multiple times, yet Trump continues to repeat it. Then last week, he hosted Pakistan's army chief for lunch. He called the field marshal a great man. All of this has turned the public sentiment slightly against the US, and that will give the government some wiggle room. Let's see how New Delhi capitalizes. Let's start with a simple question. What exactly is Donald Trump doing with Iran? Just a week ago, missiles lit up the skies over West Asia. For 12 days, the world braced itself for what looked like an all-out war. Washington even put itself in between. The US struck Iran's nuclear sites. And then, almost as suddenly as it started, the war stopped. A ceasefire was declared. It is still holding. And amid all of this, Donald Trump has apparently floated a strange proposal. Now, this is a man that tore up the Obama-era nuclear deal. Now he wants to build his own. So here's what it looks like. Trump is offering Iran a deal. It is backed by millions of dollars and wrapped in ambiguity. The purpose of the deal is simple: reshape Iran's nuclear program, rewire ties between Tehran and Washington, and possibly reset the region's diplomatic order.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not.
So what's on the table? Iran and the US have been talking via back channels. This involves the US envoy Steve Witkoff, Washington's Gulf allies, and even some intermediaries from Qatar. In these talks, a new package has emerged. At the heart of it is a $30 billion investment for Iran. It's for a new non-enrichment civilian nuclear program. So Trump wants to fund Iran's nuclear infrastructure, but just not the kind that makes nuclear weapons. So who exactly is paying for this? Well, reports suggest that Trump is sliding the bill to Arab nations. Washington's logic here is crystal clear. Gulf nations should foot the bill for peace in the region. Reports suggest the draft proposal includes loosening of sanctions on Iran, release of $6 billion worth of frozen funds, replacing bombed nuclear sites with civilian plants, strict limits on uranium enrichment, and imported uranium for civilian use. In other words, Trump isn't just trying to kill the bomb. He's trying to replace it with a US-approved program. But the question is, why now? Why is the US pushing a deal with Iran now? You see, even before the 12-day war, quiet negotiations had been taking place in Oman. The US and Iran had completed 5 rounds of talks. Round 6 was scheduled. A framework was emerging. And then Israel struck Iran. In retaliation, Iran fired back, and things escalated. Behind the scenes, US officials were still talking to Tehran, and apparently this new deal was floated. So how is Iran reacting to this? Now, publicly, Iranian officials have been vague. The foreign minister has even denied any reports of talks.
No agreement has been made to resume negotiations now. I am stating clearly that no agreement has been made, no promise has been made, nor have we talked at all about restarting negotiations. But the fact that we are examining among ourselves what is in the interest of the Iranian people is another discussion. So far, there has been no agreement, no subject for negotiation.
Tehran insists it won't give up uranium enrichment. It's been a major red line in past talks. But privately, reports suggest that Iranian officials are talking. The deal on the table isn't perfect. In fact, it might not even be real yet. But for its struggling economy, the idea of billions in investment is tempting. And Trump even showed incentive. He is publicly encouraging China to buy Iranian oil again.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yesterday, you said China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on your maximum pressure campaign? Because
With
there's
who?
sanctions right now.
With who?
On Iran?
No, look, they just had a war. The war was fought. They fought it bravely. I'm not giving up. They're in the oil business. I mean, I could stop it if I wanted. I could sell China the oil myself. I don't want to do that. They're going to need money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen.
Which brings us to the main question. What does Trump want out of this? Well, for starts, there's legacy. Trump wants to be the man who solves Iran. He thrashed the 2015 nuclear deal just because it wasn't his. Now he wants a bigger deal with his name on it. But if this deal does materialize, the implications will be huge. 1. US and Iran relations could thaw. A civilian nuclear deal could re-establish partial ties. Second, it will be a drastic change in Trump's West Asia strategy. He once called Iran the leading state sponsor of terror. Now he is greenlighting a civilian nuclear program there. 3. It would force Israel to reassess its position. Can they trust this deal? Will Iran abide by it? And what happens if Trump loses re-election? Those are all questions that Trump will have to answer to Israel. So Trump's Iran policy might best be understood as a deal in motion. It's big, risky, and loaded with unknowns. But if it works, Trump's biggest gamble would pay off. And maybe that's exactly what the US president is looking for. They say politics is serious business, unless, of course, it involves Donald Trump. He was in Europe for the NATO summit this week, and he's returned with a new obsession, being called daddy. At the summit, the NATO chief appeared to suggest that Trump is a father figure and that European nations are children. He has since clarified his remarks, but context isn't the president's strength. He has gone all out with the daddy campaign. It's on reels, it's on merchandise, and it's even on official White House videos. And frankly, it's getting out of hand. Here's a report.
And then daddy has to sometimes do strong language to get us strong.
Oh boy, what have you done, Mark Rutte?
Daddy has to sometimes do...
You decided to casually suggest that Donald Trump is daddy? Well, brace for impact. Because Trump and his team aren't letting this go. First, a quick rewind. Wednesday, June 25th, Donald Trump and NATO chief Mark Rutte were holding talks at The Hague. Trump spoke about letting children fight before stopping them. And no, he wasn't talking about Eric and Don Jr. He was talking about Iran and Israel. On hearing that, Rutte decided to chime in with that pearl.
And then daddy has to sometimes do strong language to get...
On cue, it went viral.
Do strong language.
Did the NATO chief really call Trump daddy? Were European NATO members children for the US president? Who cares, because Trump liked it.
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay?
Totally normal. And then the White House joined in. They posted this montage of Trump at the NATO summit. The soundtrack, Hey Daddy, by the singer Usher. Can't hear in the background? Don't blame us. Blame YouTube's copyright laws. Unfortunately, the cringe session wasn't over yet. The White House posted another message earlier today. It says America's back, Daddy's home. And Daddy, being the businessman he is capitalizing on the trend. The Trump team has dropped new merchandise. The most basic t-shirt you will ever see in multiple colors. And in the middle, Trump's mugshot with the words Daddy. We say it's the perfect gift for the president's alpha male supporters. So shell out $27 and get yourself one. But seriously, where do we start? With this weird obsession of being called daddy? With this worrying trend of making money off of it? Or the scary fact that some Americans actually like it? Mark Rutte has certainly had enough of it. He now says he wasn't calling Trump daddy.
Daddy thing, I didn't call him daddy. What I said is that sometimes in Europe, I hear sometimes countries saying, hey Mark, will the US stay with us? And I said, that sounds a little bit like a small child asking his daddy, hey, are you still staying with the family? So in that sense, I use daddy, not that I was calling President Trump daddy.
Too late, NATO. Like the bombs you dropped in Libya, once it's out, it's out. You can't take them back. Jokes aside, this cringe fest reveals a deeper problem. If you're over 40, listen carefully. Daddy doesn't mean father. In slang, it refers to an attractive, powerful, and dominant male figure, which is what Trump is trying to project. Even if you ignore how creepy it is, you cannot ignore the toxicity. Leadership doesn't have to mean dominance. It can mean compassion, grace, and wisdom. The world already has too many wannabe daddies. What it needs is someone who cares.
Now let's talk about Elon Musk and Tesla. Musk has been having a difficult time of late. Last month, his split with Trump made global headlines, and now his troubles at Tesla are growing. The billionaire businessman is under sustained pressure. He is now taking some tough calls. This week, Musk fired Omid Afshar. Afshar was Tesla's vice president for manufacturing and operations. He oversaw a large team of senior engineers. Afshar worked closely with Musk. He was one of his top lieutenants, and now he's out of the company. Afshar's exit comes amid a broader shakeup at Tesla. Just days earlier, another key executive stepped down. Milan Kovac, the head of the Optimus robotics project, resigned. The Optimus project was Musk's brainchild. He wants to transform Tesla from a car maker to a robotics and AI company. For that, Musk has been trying to build a robot. Milan Kovac was spearheading this transformational project. Now he's out of Tesla. He said he wanted to spend more time with family. Musk publicly thanked him for his contributions, but these exits raised eyebrows. Both executives played critical roles within Musk's businesses, and both left at a time of poor performance. Tesla stock is down 19% this year. Sales are falling as well. In Europe, sales of Teslas have declined for 5 straight months. Buyers are turning to other brands. European car makers are gaining back market share, and cheaper Chinese electronic vehicles are flooding the market. That's why Tesla is losing ground. But the challenges aren't limited to sales or stock performance. Reputation is a big factor. Tesla's image has been hit hard, and much of that damage is linked to Elon Musk himself. Musk's politics led to a strong backlash. Earlier this year, Tesla faced boycott calls and protests. Protesters from across the world hit the streets, and many longtime Tesla customers felt alienated. Musk's biggest setback came last month, when he had a falling out with President Donald Trump. Musk helped Trump get re-elected. He financed his re-election bid. He campaigned for Trump. The two were considered inseparable.
Saved free speech. He created so many different great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
Now, when Trump returned to power this year, he created a government department just for Musk. We are talking about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Trump practically gave the keys of the U.S. government to Musk. This allowed Musk to make deep cuts to government budgets. Elon Musk became a permanent presence in the White House and an indispensable part of the Trump administration. Musk was invited to cabinet meetings. The press gave him many titles like co-president and first buddy. To show his support for Musk, Trump even bought a Tesla.
Should I get in? Wow.
I get on this other side.
That's beautiful. This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
But that relationship has now broken down. At the heart of the split is a tax bill, one that impacts Elon Musk and Tesla directly. Trump and the Republicans are pushing a sweeping tax package. The bill is moving through Congress. It threatens to slash subsidies for electric vehicles. In America, buyers of EVs enjoy tax concessions of up to $7,500. The policy has been a lifeline for the EV industry. It drove sales for both new and legacy automakers. But now those credits could be slashed this year. Musk strongly opposed this move. He called the tax bill a disgusting abomination. Trump responded publicly to his criticism. He called Musk crazy and threatened to cut government contracts to all of Musk's companies.
President, you posted yesterday that a way to save money would be to cancel some of Musk's contracts. How seriously do you consider
Well, we'll take a look at everything. I look at everything. It's got a lot of money. It gets a lot of subsidy. So we'll take a look at that.
In an attempt to de-escalate, Musk apologized. He said his comments went too far, but that apology has failed to change Trump's mind. If the EV tax credits are scrapped, Tesla could lose over $1 billion every year. That's according to JP Morgan. Now that's a massive blow, especially at a time when sales are already declining. But Musk's troubles don't end there. In China, Tesla faces new competition. Its main rival now is Xiaomi. Xiaomi is best known for its smartphones. Now it is challenging Tesla with new EVs. Xiaomi is launching cars that are competing directly with Tesla's. So far, the launch has been a success. Xiaomi has launched a new SUV. It went on sale this week. In the first hour, Xiaomi received over 280,000 orders for it. Already, Xiaomi cars are outselling Tesla's. Tesla's China story is unraveling. It once led the market, now it's struggling to keep up. Local brands are gaining momentum. They offer competitive pricing and more advanced features. Tesla's biggest selling point was innovation, but that advantage is shrinking. Other brands have caught up. Some have gone ahead. The technology gap is closing fast, and consumers are taking notice. The result is this. Tesla is losing market share in two of its most important markets, Europe and China. Musk invested close to $300 million on Trump's victory. Clearly, he was betting on Trump. He wanted a friend in the White House to protect his business interests. But that calculation seems to have backfired. Musk's alliance with Trump has collapsed, and with it, any expectation of policy favors. Musk now finds himself in a difficult spot. His companies face regulatory headwinds, his flagship brand is losing ground, and his public image has split public opinion. Investors are watching this situation closely, and so are customers. The EV market is no longer a niche segment. It is crowded and competitive, and brands are constantly evolving. To stay ahead, Tesla will need to do more than cut prices. It will need to innovate again. It will need to rebuild trust, and it will need to stay focused. That applies to Musk as well. His exit from the White House will help him focus more on his businesses. That focus is clearly needed now. It is the most expensive game of tag in Silicon Valley history. In 2025, Mark Zuckerberg launched a full-blown recruiting blitz. The Meta CEO is offering jaw-dropping compensation packages, including $100 million signing bonuses. That is over 800 crore rupees. Now, this is to lure the brightest minds in artificial intelligence. And this week, he scored some high-profile wins. He's poached 3 researchers from OpenAI, Lucas Baer, Alexander Kolesnikov, and Xiaohua Zhai. Until recently, they were building OpenAI's Zurich Brain Trust. Now they will be working for Meta. And it's a quiet coup, but a significant one. You see, Mark Zuckerberg didn't just miss the AI train. He was standing at the wrong station. Other tech companies worked on AI models, but Meta was busy sinking billions into the metaverse. And Zuckerberg seems to have realized something now. If he doesn't pivot fast and hard, Meta will lose the game. So he's building what he calls a superintelligence team. It is an elite AGI-focused division distinct from Meta's existing AI arm. Its mission is to catch up and leap ahead of all the competitors. If all goes well, Meta wants to be the first company to achieve AGI, that is artificial general intelligence. Usually recruiting AI researchers is usually a methodical process involving back-channel emails and NDAs. But not for Mark Zuckerberg. He is literally throwing dinner parties. According to reports, he's hosting small invite-only gatherings at his homes. And there, he's pitching researchers on the vision, plus offering a hefty compensation package. He's even created a WhatsApp group named Recruiting Party, and he's rearranging the desks at Meta HQ to sit closer to his new recruits. Basically, Zuckerberg is playing founder again. All of this, naturally, hasn't gone unnoticed by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. On a podcast, Altman tried to sound unbothered, but then came the digs. He said his top researchers have not taken up Meta's offers. The implication is that you can't buy greatness, you have to build it. Still, the cracks are starting to show. Meta hasn't nabbed the crown jewels. Altman's co-founders both slipped away to form their own ventures. But the talent drain is real. What's more, OpenAI is reportedly working on an AI-powered social network, one which could compete directly with Meta's apps. So this is now an all-out tech war, which brings us to the question, can money build superintelligence? Artificial general intelligence is undefined and arguably years away if it's even possible. Meta, for all its scale, still has internal roadblocks. Insiders whisper about power struggles and layers of middle management. Now, these are the same issues that slowed the metaverse, so this may well rear their head again here. But the bigger question isn't whether Zuckerberg can recruit OpenAI's staff to fix this. It's why he's doing it in the first place. On paper, the mission is build AGI, but in practice, it's something more personal. Zuckerberg is no longer the 19-year-old coding in a Harvard dorm. He revolutionized social media. He believes he can do the same for the world of AI. And this time, he wants to be first. Now let's talk about deepfakes. They are no longer just a tech gimmick. Deepfakes are becoming sharper, more convincing, and far more dangerous. From politicians to private citizens, no one is immune from them. As debates over AI regulation rages around the world, Denmark is taking action. It's proposing a law that gives people control over their own face, voice, and image. The move could set a new legal standard in Europe. And with Denmark set to lead the EU Council next, Copenhagen wants to build a common front against AI abuse. Here's a report.
Deep fakes. They are a growing threat.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real.
From celebrities to politicians, no one is safe. Not even the average person. The problem isn't new. But AI has supercharged deepfakes now. They are becoming more convincing. AI apps can now copy faces. They can mimic voices.
This is a 5-second impression of a snapping turtle coming out of its shell.
And they can replicate movements with stunning accuracy.
I'm not afraid. I'm afraid of the boogeyman. Who's the boogeyman?
Most countries are struggling to respond to deepfakes. The laws are outdated, and the tools limited. Denmark is trying a new approach. It's rewriting its copyright law. It plans to give people control over their own image and voice. The move is designed to tackle digital imitations, realistic deepfakes that look and sound like real people. The Danish government says this law will be a first for Europe. It has received wide political consensus already. Denmark's Culture Ministry plans to present the bill this autumn. The proposed law has a simple mission: to make sure no one can use your face, body, or voice without consent. The bill will cover AI-generated content. This includes fake videos and audio. It will also give protection to artists from unauthorized digital copies of their performances. Violators could face fines. Those who are affected will be able to claim compensation. These rules will not apply to parody or satire. Denmark will allow exceptions for them, but the rest will be subject to clear limits. Denmark's culture minister says the new law will deliver an unequivocal message. He says everyone has the right to their own body and voice, and the current laws do not provide that protection. According to the minister, the threat is real. AI can turn human identities into digital copies, and those copies can be used for any purpose without any consent. Denmark also plans to hold tech platforms accountable for deepfakes. They plan to impose severe fines. The proposed bill is expected to pass without major opposition. But Denmark wants to go further. It plans to share the framework with other EU members. Soon, Denmark will hold the presidency of the European Union. Copenhagen wants to use this opportunity and create a common front against AI abuse. The internet is flooded with new AI tools. The technology is moving fast. The rules, however, are still catching up. But one thing is clear. As AI becomes part of daily life, countries need strong laws. They must protect their citizens from misuse. On this front, Denmark has taken the lead.
Think before you trust.
Water disputes are heating up in South Asia. In the West, India put the Indus Waters Treaty on hold. Now similar moves could be seen in the East, between India and Bangladesh. Both countries share waters from the Ganga River. This arrangement was agreed in 1996. But next year it will expire, and reports say India wants to change this arrangement. It is seeking a modification to the deal. First, some background. The Ganga Water Sharing Agreement was signed in 1996. Now, this was during Sheikh Hasina's first term as Prime Minister. The deal mainly focuses on one area, a barrage built in West Bengal. It was built to divert water for the Kolkata port. But during summers, water is obviously less, so an agreement had to be struck. Both countries would get 35,000 cusecs of water alternately. Now that's the terms of the current deal. But reports say India wants more. Things have changed since 1996. The local population has risen quite a lot. More settlements have popped up. So New Delhi apparently wants 30 to 35,000 cusecs more. Now we haven't heard from Dhaka yet, but this promises to be a new flashpoint. Frankly, that's been the story of this relationship recently. It goes from one flashpoint to the next. We saw one last week. Bangladesh, China and Pakistan held a trilateral meeting in Kunming, the first ever meeting of its kind. Not a surprise though, Dhaka has been resetting its ties with Pakistan. It has also been moving closer to Beijing. Mohammed Yunus has scaled back his ties to India. And with Joe Biden gone, he doesn't have an ally in Washington, which could explain the outreach to China. Whatever the reason, it's worrying for New Delhi. The Foreign Ministry says it's closely monitored the trilateral meeting.
The trilateral meeting that you referred to, see, we maintain a constant watch on the developments in our neighborhood that have a bearing on our interests and our security. Our relations with individual countries, while they stand on their own footing, take into account the evolving context as well.
It's not just the optics. Pakistan says the three countries set up a working group, which has triggered speculation about an alliance. Could Pakistan, Bangladesh and China be setting up an alliance? Dhaka has rejected such reports. It also says the trilateral is not about targeting a third party. Frankly, that's tough to believe. Both Pakistan and China are India's rivals. Until last year, Dhaka kept both of them at a distance. With Pakistan, the relations were frozen, and rightly so. Bangladesh used to be a part of Pakistan. In 1971, when it tried to break away, Islamabad unleashed violence. They killed thousands of people in Bangladesh. Many experts have called it a genocide. As a result, Sheikh Hasina kept Pakistan at bay, but not Mohammed Yunus. He has already met Pakistan's Prime Minister. He has established direct trade with Pakistan, and now he's taking part in a trilateral with China. Yet Dakar says it's not about India. The fact is, this is very much about India. All of Yunus's actions have been aimed at weakening this relationship. And the worst part, he doesn't have the authority to do it. Yunus is an unelected interim leader. His job was to stabilize Bangladesh and to hold elections. But he's doing a lot more. Yunus has cancelled holidays linked to the Liberation War. He has removed Sheikh Mujibur Rahman from the national currency. And now he's cozying up to Pakistan. Yunus is making long-lasting changes to Bangladesh. Changes he has no mandate to make. The future of war isn't coming. It's already buzzing overhead. In 2025, drones are no longer just eyes in the sky. They're packing guns and making decisions on their own. From Ukraine's battlefields to India's high-tech defense trials, gun drones are redefining modern combat. Who's building them? Who's using them? And how do they actually work? Our next report tells you how gun drones may be the new soldier in the sky.
For decades, drones have lurked in the background of modern war, dropping bombs and gathering intelligence. But a new species of drone is taking flight, one that doesn't just observe or explode. This one aims and shoots. They are called gun drones, and they're rewriting the rules of combat. Unlike missile-armed drones, gun drones are far more terrifying. These are flying platforms equipped with traditional firearms. That is your machine guns, assault rifles, even submachine guns. Their job is simple: hover, aim, and shoot. In June this year, an Indian startup built this very technology. BSS Alliance, a Bengaluru-based defense company, unveiled India's first AI-powered drone capable of firing real guns autonomously. This drone thinks, aims, and fires on its own. It used AI to identify and engage targets up to 600 meters away, even under cloud cover or nighttime darkness. It factored in wind speed, altitude, and even humidity to calculate the bullet's path. And here's the kicker: it doesn't need constant supervision. The system can operate without human intervention. It's also designed to fit on everything from infantry backpacks to naval ships. And it is not just India. In Ukraine, gun drones have gone from prototype to battlefield staple. They offer soldiers mobile firepower without exposing themselves. The Russians have also been working on similar platforms, some featuring multi-barrel setups and rudimentary AI aiming systems. And the innovation isn't limited to battlefields. In South Mexico, police recently unveiled prototypes for armed drones. This is to counter heavily armed drug cartels that have turned the border with Guatemala into a war zone. So, how do gun drones actually work? Now, there's a huge problem with sticking a gun on a drone. Fire a bullet, and the recoil can send your drone spiraling like a leaf in a storm. To solve this, engineers have gotten creative. Some drones use recoilless mechanisms. Others use counterweights that shift the drone's mass at the moment of firing, stabilizing it mid-air. But these systems aren't perfect. Firing from a moving drone, especially in bad weather or at high altitudes, is still a technical challenge. Stabilization is hard. Ammunition is heavy. And unlike bombs, bullets miss. So with all these limitations, why even bother? Why use gun drones at all? Well, the answer is precision. Missile strikes come with collateral damage. Drones that drop grenades can't exactly aim for a window. Gun drones, on the other hand, can potentially target a single enemy hiding behind a wall. In urban combat or hostage scenarios, that kind of precision matters. They're also cheap. A basic gun drone costs less than a single missile. They can be assembled from commercial parts and deployed in swarms. And they're also fast. Infantry units can use them to provide immediate covering fire. The use of gun drones shows you how the battlefield is evolving. The drone used to be a scout. Then it became a bomber. Now it's a soldier, and it doesn't blink. This is not the future of war. This is war now reprogrammed, rearmed, and ready to fire.
The world is witnessing a population crisis. People are not having enough children, and fertility rates are dropping. Fertility rate refers to the average number of babies a woman is expected to have in her lifetime. Over the past few years, the global fertility rate has been in decline, and South Korea has the lowest fertility rate in the world. But in recent months, the country has witnessed a dramatic shift. Now a new report is out. It says that South Korea's birth rate has surged at its fastest pace in more than 3 decades. So what's behind this change? And is there a lesson for the world here? Our next report tells you.
South Korea may become the first country to disappear. We have heard this over and over again. After all, the country is witnessing a population crisis. It has the lowest fertility rate in the world, meaning the average number of babies a woman is expected to have in her lifetime. But last year, a positive trend emerged. In 2024, the country's fertility rate rose for the first time in 9 years. And now, a new report is out. It says that South Korea's birth rate has surged at its fastest pace in more than 3 decades. This data is for the month of April. The number of babies born in April reached 20,717. That's an 8.7% increase from the same month last year. What's behind this? Recent policies that have focused on 3 areas: work-family balance, childcare, and housing, including paying 100% of the salary to employees for 6 months, if both parents take parental leave. Extending the maximum period of parental leave to 1.5 years. Making it mandatory for companies to include childcare statistics in regulatory filings. And more changes are on their way. President Lee Jae-myung, who was elected earlier this month, has made demographic recovery a crucial goal for his new administration. He has proposed expansion of child allowances, family-friendly tax reforms, and debt relief for newlywed couples with hefty loans based on the number of children born. The country plans to spend about $14 billion to boost the population. That's up 22% from last year's demographic spending. Sure, officials are cautious. After all, the country's total fertility rate is still very low. It stands at a crisis level of 0.75. This is well below the 2.1 replacement rate, meaning the number of births required to maintain a stable population without large-scale immigration. But pro-family policies appear to be bearing fruit. You may ask, why now? Because the fresh policies are a major break from the tired and less effective approach of handing out cash incentives, or what are called baby bonuses, which seem to be the go-to idea for most countries. The crisis of population is not limited to South Korea. According to the UN, the world fertility rates are in unprecedented decline. Fewer children born means fewer workers. This leads to more labor shortages and slower economic growth. It also creates an aging society which puts more pressure on social welfare. Yet from Japan and Singapore to Australia and the US, country after country is giving out baby bonuses to reverse the fertility crisis. And of course, it has not worked. For instance, in China, despite handing out cash to families who have more babies for years, their population has shrunk for a 3rd consecutive year. Because financial burden is the biggest reason why people aren't having kids. According to the UN, 39% people don't have enough money to have children. 22% people cannot afford the kind of housing to raise them. And 18% cannot afford reliable childcare. These are structural issues, and they cannot be solved with a single cash handout. Families need long-term solutions like affordable education, childcare, and housing. So about time policymakers act like grown-ups and stop throwing money at the baby bus problem.
Speaking of affordable education, let's talk about school fees. Over the past week, hundreds of parents in several Indian cities have protested it. They have called out fee raises by private schools. Parents say the hikes are stretching household budgets and taking a toll on children, who are reportedly punished over unpaid dues, from being confined in libraries to being barred from entering classes by security guards. But this issue is not limited to India. Across several countries, the cost of education is rising dramatically, and students are paying the price for it. Here's a report.
Private school fees are a pain point for many families in India. Recently, a survey was published. More than 80% parents with children in private schools said that fees increased by over 10% in the last academic year. And the situation is much worse in metropolitan cities. As per the survey, fees in some schools rose by 30% in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru. 44% of parents across India reported a 50 to 80% fee hike in the past 3 years. For years now, families have paid the price for the soaring cost of education. And this week, anger erupted. Hundreds of parents took to the streets in several Indian cities, from New Delhi to Hyderabad, to protest against fee raises by private schools. They have two big complaints. First, they call the steep fee raises unsustainable, saying that the hikes are stretching household budgets. Secondly, they say that children are being punished if parents are unable to pay the fees. Several parents have accused some schools of confining students in the library, hiring bouncers and security guards to stop children from attending classes, and even expelling them from schools over unpaid dues. These are serious allegations, and at the center of this controversy is the capital Delhi. Rules say that private schools must get Directorate of Education approval before raising fees. But parents claim that fees hikes are sporadic despite the lack of transparency on the utilization of funds. After all, private schools in the country are integral to the education system. Government-run schools operate nationwide, but they suffer from poor quality of infrastructure and education levels. Meaning, even many low-income families have to send their children to private schools. Plus, with tuition and coaching classes charging exorbitant sums, rising private school fees are fueling a crisis of education in India. But this problem is not limited to the world's most populous nation. In the UK, private school fees have gone up by 22% in last year. In the US, the cost to attend private schools is at an all-time high. The annual tuition has risen by more than 7% in a year. This is the sharpest increase in a decade. Sure, private schools in the West cater to a minority of the population. But college fees have increased too. In the UK, undergraduate tuition fees have risen by about $400 this year. And in the US, over the past 20 years, colleges have seen a 126% jump in fees. These jumps are partially because of the pandemic, when educational institutes held back on hiking fees globally. Plus, amid inflationary pressures, schools say that their costs have risen, so they need to charge students more. This has increasingly become a burden for students and their families, and especially those who belong to vulnerable groups. So now, many students find themselves choosing between two options: chasing their aspirations, or being pushed to the brink financially. It sounds like an impossible choice. So while education opens doors and fuels opportunity growth, it has also left thousands of students stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea.
And now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. An elephant loses control during the Rath Yatra in Ahmedabad. A British company showcases their jet suits at a British aircraft carrier in Singapore. And a Bezos mannequin floats through Venice as protests escalate against the Amazon CEO's wedding. Finally, taking you back in history, on this day in 1871, the yen became the official currency of Japan. It was first introduced as a part of Japan's modernization efforts. The yen replaced a complex system of local currencies. It was modeled after the European decimal currency systems. Leaving you on that note, thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.